But the crazy thing is like, imagine you become an idol in one of these groups and your boss is like, all right, you have to do this, 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 and this. I mean, that happens in America too. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's much more systematized out there, from what I understand. And of course, I mean, I'm sure everyone can see this coming. That these industries are rife with sexual abuse.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't take a lot to imagine what happens to young women in these quote unquote trainee programs, and how that compounds the training that they get in order to kind of fulfill this character that is, become popular in the K-pop kind of fantasy, which is like, a young girl who's not too sexual, but a little sexual enough, that can be, a lot of fantasies can be projected on, but is still like safe for kids. Like, it's a very delicate balance that I think, a lot of our female listeners will be well aware of.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you're not allowed to date when you're a K-pop idol or a trainee.
Right. And that's specifically for the women, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, they have much less leeway, although the guys don't have much either. But that's a lot, right? Like, you are basically, for the entirety of your youth, not just your childhood, but for your youth, not allowed to date. And whether that means you can never have sex is sort of unclear, but certainly you can never give the impression that you ever are. The backlash, if you are caught dating somebody, is intense and severe. Companies hate it because they, it possibly affect their bottom line in some way. The paparazzi will give you insane negative attention, extra attention. Korean internet users hate it. And oftentimes there's a backlash from like the general public. Something you said there too is like that women are supposed to have people be able to make projections on them, right?
Yeah.
And we see that a lot in certainly not just the K-pop industry, but somebody both has to be like unavailable, but also like maybe at any time willing to have sex with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to be able to put any sort of sexual fantasy, perversion, urge, or like neuroses that you have onto these people, but they also have to be chaste in a way. And so it's this really, I mean, it just goes down from even the way that they make them look. I mean, basically everyone's hairless.
Yeah.
It's very sculpted in this specific way by plastic surgery. And everything's so like, manicured and mechanized that like, it really is just like, I mean, when I look at them, I can't really understand how you could project sexual desire on them. But,
yeah,
I mean,
I was gonna say there's something that feels very like denuded about a lot of the K-pop stars, and I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say like, I don't want to go too far, but I mean, knowing it's difficult watching these videos and watching these performances after you read the details of these, slave contracts, and you understand the amount of abuse that these kids undergo, including like, physical and sexual abuse. I mean, there's rampant rape and sexual assault in the industry, and most of it isn't reported on because it's like in Hollywood where it's that's what happens in order to move up in the ranks. Right? Yeah,
exactly. I mean, it's really similar a lot of the time. I mean, we've talked a lot about in the show is that the Weinstein sort of Me Too thing was basically like a sin eater type situation where it's like, well, this guy did all the bad stuff and now he's out of here. And like, we sort of cleansed ourselves.
Yeah, no.
They're all fucking Weinsteins.
No, yeah, exactly. Weinstein just took the fall for the industry writ large, who... nothing has changed. Nothing has changed in Hollywood.
I mean, it was largely successful too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't get me started on that. If they actually wanted to change anything that had to do with like power relationships in Hollywood, you would be changing how films were financed. You wouldn't be changing whether or not Shonda Rhimes was the head of a fucking studio. Like, get out of here. I mean, it's such a fucking joke, and at the expense of, as always, the bodies of young girls.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is specifically, I think, really in K-pop terms, at least, like really a lot of young girls have been heavily affected by this. I mean, we mentioned this on the Nth Rune episode, but there was the Burning Sun scandal,
right?
Which involved a nightclub where people, the nightclub owners and a bunch of male K-pop stars would drug and rape girls and then share around pictures of them, and videos of them doing the act and stuff like that. And that's a big revenge porn is huge in South Korea. I mean, we talked about this specifically a lot on the Nth Rune episode, but it's like a really big way of, I mean, I guess both consuming pornographic content, but also like, I don't know, as a tool.
It's like people. Maybe the most extreme. There's something about revenge porn and like sexual blackmail that gets at something very like uniquely disturbing, because it really is about having a very specific and like unwavering control over someone else, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
And I'll just say, like, a lot of people, and I've seen this with even, a lot of left-leaning people and leftist men, and the way that they characterize revenge porn, is that it's like, just a new mutation of things that like young kids are doing. And I just want to say that like it's different in kind, I would say, rather than kind of degree. That like there is the idea of like having the power to ruin someone's life, to like show their father his daughter like naked doing something sexual is a very unique form of power and control that's really, really depraved and should be treated as very different in kind, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.